Okay, here we go. Welcome to my very first podcast episode of Her Sideline of the Story. My name is Kendall Buchanan, and I am really excited to share this with you. I'm a little bit nervous, but I will get better as we go on. And also, this podcast was never meant to be all about me. I'm not doing this for myself. So bear with me this first episode because I wanted to at least give you a little bit of a background, why I'm here, why I'm doing this, where I've been, where I hope I'm going. But the purpose of this podcast and the website and blog is to actually elevate and share stories about other women in sports media because we're awesome. And oh my gosh, I've just met so many amazing women in the industry, and I want to help share their stories. So I just hope that this can be something where we can do that. So thanks for being here. I also plan to work on covering women's sports, women's professional sports, photography, journalism. I'm doing it all myself right now, but the goal is to grow this. And if everything goes according to plan, I hope to be able to create a space for aspiring photographers, journalists, if I can help you get your foot in the door somehow, covering a game for our blog and podcast. That's the dream, but we got to start somewhere. So we're starting right here in my home office. I've got a little bit to work on as far as my aesthetics and my backgrounds. You can see my treadmill over here. Just in my little home office. It's small, but it works. Welcome to my home. I promise to get some guests on the show soon. I have a couple of ideas brewing, so bear with me. I've been a photographer for a little over 10 years now. Most of that time I've been a sports photographer. I did start out doing some portrait stuff, and I did second shooting with weddings for a while. Oh my goodness, I tried it all because I knew I wanted to be a professional photographer. It took me a while to get to that point. I didn't start there. I actually moved to Nashville after I graduated college, literally the day after I graduated college. My roommate and I packed up, moved everything out east, not out west. We crossed the Mississippi and moved to Nashville, and I've been here ever since. I'm from Texas. Forgot to say that. I'm very proud to be from Texas. It will always hold a special place in my heart. But I am a Tennessean now, and I love Nashville. So I'm happy to be here. But yeah, so we packed up everything and we moved, and I wanted to be in the audio industry. I was working in college. I interned with my church that I was going to. Had an audiovisual internship at a church in my college town, and I had dreams of being in the audio industry. That's why I wanted to move to Nashville. I wanted to work in recording. My dream was to win a Grammy for recording an album, right? Hey, dream big, dream big. So anyway, I did work in the audio industry for a little while. I worked at a church here in Nashville for a little bit. I did some freelance gigs with live sound. Even though I really wanted to work in a recording studio, I ended up doing a lot more live sound, which I also really enjoyed. Long story short, I lost my love for it. I don't know, I can't explain it. I feel like I came here to Nashville, and my first year was incredible. I fell in love with the city so quickly. It truly is one of a kind. The music industry is both incredible and amazing, but also pretty heartbreaking and cutthroat. And I just realized after, a little bit that I was like, I don't really know if this is what I want to do, but what do I want to do? I was also working at Starbucks at the time. Worked at Starbucks for a decade. Good times. So I was working full-time at Starbucks, freelancing audio, started dabbling in photography. I've always loved photography, but I did it as a hobby. And, I started thinking, well, maybe I could do some more of this, and let's try this. And the starting point that I can remember fully is I volunteered to photograph a 5K race for a charity. It was the Brain Tumor Alliance. I actually do remember that. And they did a 5K raising money for their organization, and they needed a photographer. And most charities will have a volunteer photographer because they're raising money for a cause. They're not wanting to spend money on a photographer, and which is totally fine. That's just kind of how it works. So typically it's a volunteer position when you photograph something like that. So that's actually advice. If you are struggling to find a place to get started, that's a great place to start. Make sure that you do have some knowledge and have practiced a little bit before. Like, don't just show up with a camera and have never really used your camera, because it's a volunteer position, but they deserve to have good photos. So show up knowing that you can do the job at least, 90%. I mean, I hate to say that. You should do it 100%. But if you're just getting started, look for volunteer positions. You're not always going to work for free, but in the beginning, you're going to have to do some practicing for free. I like to call it practicing, not working. You are out there practicing, because if you are new, you can't yet call yourself a professional. You have to put in the work. You have to gain the skills. You have to gain the experience. So that's where I started. That was the first thing that I remember doing that was sports photography related. I did have some photography knowledge going into it, and I was actually really excited about how it went. I did better than I thought I would, and I was like, oh, I love this. And still to this day, I love photographing running, like 5Ks, half marathons, whatever. Like, I love racing events, and also, ironically, I run them as well. You can see that's my Chicago Marathon. Sorry, shameless plug. It's hanging there, so. Anyway, I love photographing races, and that's how I got started in the very beginning. And I should speed this up. You guys are going to get bored. I did more races. I got better and better, and I actually started making money doing it. And I caught the bug. I was like, I love this. And kept thinking, ultimate goal was I love football. I grew up around football and baseball. I love football and baseball pretty equally. My brother played football and baseball in high school and a little bit of football in college. My dad played football in college. We watched the Cowboys every Sunday. We raced home from church to catch the noon game, often catching it at the second quarter. But just great memories of growing up watching football. And it's like, I would love to do that. I would love to learn how to make my way into that and see if I can, make a career out of this, not even having the slightest clue how to even get there. So that's kind of where I'm trying to help you guys, I guess. I did not have a clue. Well, so I knew I had to find a way to actually gain experience photographing football, not just racing. So I went on Craigslist. This was back in 2010, 11, 12, something like that. So don't know how legit Craigslist is anymore, so use at your own risk. Back then, I found a lot of legit gigs on there, and I answered an ad that was for a local news website in Williamson County, or Brentwood. They were called Brentwood Homepage, and they needed some help covering football games for their website. I emailed them, showed them my racing photo, my 5K photos, and some other stuff I'd done. And I didn't have any football shooting experience, but my football editor, who had hired me as like a freelance contractor, contributor, whatever, I wasn't on staff, but I'm forever grateful for him giving me a chance, because I didn't have any experience in football, but he still was like, hey, I like what you've done. I think that you can do a good job shooting football too. So my first high school football game that I ever shot, I'm going to start crying. Guys, I don't know if I can do this podcast thing without crying. Sometimes I'm going to get emotional. I'm just letting you know. It's just me. You'll also always probably see me dressed like this. It's just me. My first high school football game, I just knew. I was like, this is where I belong. This is what I'm going to do. I just knew it. It was like, it wasn't even like, I wonder if I can make this work. I wonder if I can do this. I just remember thinking, this is it. I'm doing it. So there was no doubt in my mind. I knew I wanted to do it. So thankfully, thank you, Sam. If you ever listen to this, you probably won't, but thank you for giving me. I hope it's okay. I'm shouting you out, but you gave me a chance. Also, thank you, Kelly. You and Sam gave me a chance, and I wouldn't be here without you. So then, after football season, I ended up shooting basketball for Brentwood homepage as well. And it just kept going. I just kept shooting more sports. So if I can recommend anything, reach out to your local newspapers and your local news websites. Look to support and grow in places that have space for you to grow. That's definitely what I recommend. It's a mutually beneficial relationship when you do that. You grow as a photographer and you're contributing to local media, local journalism is very important. And I'm also proud to say, moving on from that, after several years of working with them, I started working with Williamson Herald in the same county, Franklin. Williamson County town is Franklin, just outside of Nashville. Some in Brentwood and Spring Hill. It's a large county. I've been with Williamson Herald since 2017, I believe, maybe 2018. I just remember it was either the year of or the year after I got married. So I've been with them for a while and they are also incredible. So thankful for them. Charles, shout out, you're awesome. Derby, shout out, you're awesome too. Williamson Herald does some great things for the community and I could not be more proud to shoot high school sports for them. Additionally, to moving on, sort of related, but my very first Titans game I shot for Williamson Herald in 2019. I'll probably do an entire episode on that at some point. Maybe I can interview another NFL lady photog. I had this feeling of being like, I had imposter syndrome hardcore. It was like I had never felt more out of place or more in the exact place I was supposed to be at the same time. Does that make any sense? Like, it was total disbelief, but also I had never felt like I belonged somewhere more. And if you've ever felt that way, then you know. I'm never going to stop chasing that feeling. And I get that feeling a lot now, and I'm really grateful. Anytime that I am out on the field shooting, I'm always grateful for the opportunities that I've been given and have worked for. I consider myself blessed and lucky and hardworking. It all works together. I'll talk about that another time. It's just too much to talk about right now. So yeah, that was 2019. I'm sure you know what's coming next. 2020. That was a big setback for a lot of people. Don't even really want to talk about it that much. I lost a lot of the joy of shooting during that time. I still photographed a few high school games here and there as they were available, but a lot of stuff happened. For myself personally, I went through some pretty rough health things. And I didn't shoot for a while, and I got depressed, discouraged, all the things. And yeah, so there's about 2 years in there where I didn't really shoot a whole lot. It was a setback. It's like I don't let myself think about it, because if I do, I'm like, well, where would I be now if I'd had those 2 years to grow and learn and seek more opportunities. But I can't look at it that way. January of 2023, something clicked. And I was just like, okay, this is my comeback year. I don't even remember what it was that made me, like, something sparked that in me. And it might have been, I had just ran the Chicago Marathon in September of 2022 after I'd recovered from a lot of health issues. And I think running that marathon, um, it made me believe that I could do anything because I never thought that I could actually, like, I remember thinking, I'm going to try to run this and I'm just probably not going to finish. And I have a photo of myself crossing the finish line where I just look ridiculous because I'm just like weeping as I'm crossing the finish line with just this distorted look on my face. But it's like my one of my favorite pictures, even though I hate how I look in it. After I did that, it still took me a few months, but at the end of the year, when we're all reflecting on the year and what are we going to do better this next year, I just kind of it clicked and I was like, okay, I can't keep waiting for things to come to me. I got really comfortable. I think I was in a lull there for a few years and I was just like, I was happy, or I thought I was happy, waiting for gigs to come to me. And that's how I got the Titans game. Um, Someone else couldn't go. So I filled in. And I just was like, okay, I can do this and I'm gonna do this. This year, comeback year, this is personal. Not, I mean, wasn't personal against anybody. It was just like, I'm doing this for me. I want this. I'm gonna work for this. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get this. And I started working on my portfolio. I went through years and years and years of photos and chose the best ones, worked on my Instagram feed a little bit, and just really started trying to figure out, like, okay, what does this look like? What's my plan? So I photographed a couple of Nashville SC games and made my MLS debut. And up until that point, hadn't shot a lot of soccer. I'd done, some high school soccer. And I was just like, whoa, this is different, especially at the pro level. It is much faster paced. My first game was, I did okay. I did okay. It wasn't great, but I did several games that season and got better every time. And I met some really cool people who are, now get to call friends. Honestly, shooting soccer changed my life. It did. It's crazy to say that, but I put those photos into my portfolio. I did the very daunting task of teaching myself IPTC metadata because I realized that I was not going to be able to shoot for any photo agencies or wire services without that skill. And once I learned that, I was like, okay, well, I have to figure this out. I have to learn how to do this. So I bought Photo Mechanic and I practiced it on my just captioning for some of my Williamson Herald photos. They didn't need to be captioned, but I'm sure it was probably a little bit helpful to have the metadata in there, even though it's not required for what we do there. But I taught myself, and that also changed my life. There are still things about Photo Mechanic that I'm not fully well versed in, but I definitely know it fairly well now. I have to. But learning that skill also changed a lot for me because then I was able to start working for photo agencies, and that has also changed my life. I started, what year is it? 2025? Summer of 2020. What all did I do? I was still shooting soccer. I think it was that fall that I started shooting US soccer. I did my first US men's national team game, US men's national team against Ghana, because it was here in Nashville at Geodis Park. And I covered that for Alamy Live News, Alamy editorial. What you guys don't see is how many credentials I apply for that I don't get. All you see is what I do get and what I do shoot and what I share. And I mean, I'm not going to list out the things that I've applied for that I haven't gotten into, but I'm turned down for more things than I'm approved for. And that's just kind of how it works. It's not this magic thing where all of a sudden you're a professional photographer and you get approved for everything that you want to shoot. It does not work that way. There's a lot of things there are a lot of factors. Some events just, realistically don't have the space for a ton of people, or they want to keep it smaller, or there's an overwhelming amount of people applying, so they have to be selective. And they're selective anyway, as they should be. Like, I don't want to be discouraging. Everything here is encouraging for your benefit, but I'm going to be realistic with you. I'm here to be my most authentic self with you. I also don't want to say anything to get myself in trouble. I'll have to watch out for that. Like, I won't be showing you my credentials or anything. You might be able to see some of them on the walls, but they're far enough away that it's, I might even move them. So that is my story as a sports photographer. I am also a former director of communications for the American Flag Football League. And funny enough how that happened, I was sent to cover tryouts for the Nashville team. There was going to be a professional men's flag football team in Nashville called the Nashville Nighthawks. And Williamson Herald sent me out to cover it for the paper to take some photos because we had our very own Coach Chris Hughes. He is the high school football coach at Fairview High School, which is part of Williamson County, which is a school that Williamson Herald covers. So, the paper did a story on him and the team, and I got to take the photos, and it was so fun. Like, I had so much fun doing it. I had no idea how much fun it was going to be. When I was like, yeah, okay, cool, that sounds cool. And then I left, I was like, that was awesome. Anyway, I met some people. I ended up getting hired to go to Boston to cover the Boston tryouts for the AFFL, which was also incredibly fun. I had a great time, met some more people, and about a month later, I was approached to join them as it was originally going to be director of social media and PR. And I was like, are you sure? Because I don't know how to do that. I mean, I knew social media a little, but again, people who had faith in me and my work and thought I would be good at something, saw something in me that I didn't see myself. Thank you, Michelle. They hired me, and I ended up, and thank you, Stephanie, as well, if you guys ever see this, and Brian, all of you. I still have tons of love for AFFL. Yeah, I was on board. I was there for 6 months as the director of communications for the Nashville and Boston team. I learned so much about the sports world. I learned so much about just the media industry. I got to see the other side. I'd been in the sports media as a photographer, but I got to see the other side and learn what it's like to work for a league and a team. And we accomplished some really cool stuff. Like, I'm really proud of the work that we did while we were able to do it. I don't know what the future holds for AFFL, but I hope great things are in store. We ended up not getting to have our inaugural season last year, and so I had to find a different job, and I'm actually still unemployed. Technically, I'm a full-time freelance photographer and also part-time social media manager for the WNFC now, the Women's National Football Conference. We have a team called the Tennessee Trojans, women's tackle football team, and they are awesome. I've been doing that since July, while also doing freelance. So I wear a lot of hats. Oh, actually, my hat says her game. It's one of the, what is the word? Taglines, mottos. It's a WNFC hat. So I'm excited. This spring will be my first season with them. Been working with them during the off season. I can't wait. It's gonna be awesome. I'm definitely gonna be covering that. I'll be there as social media manager, but I'm gonna take some photos and I'm gonna cover it as a journalist too and include it in my website. So I hope that I followed this as linearly. Don't know if that's grammatically correct. I'm sorry. I tried to follow my story in a linear pattern, but I do not think that way or speak that way most of the time. I apologize. I'm going to get better. It's going to be easier when I have someone to speak with and ask questions and converse with rather than just talking. I feel like I've probably missed something here and there, but at least this gives you a sense of my background. It's hard. It's hard to sum up your career of 10 years in a little baby tiny episode. Because I've done so much more than I've even talked about, but I love sports. Sports is not my whole life. You know, there's more to life than sports, but I believe that sports can teach you things that nothing else can teach you about perseverance, persistence, character. There's nothing else like it that can teach you a lot of those things. Like, you can learn them in other ways, but not in the same way that you can learn it from sports. And if you are an athlete or have been an athlete or you have kids that are athletes, then I know that you know. I mean, for example, running saved my life. In 2021, when I was having some health issues, battling depression and severe anxiety, like, took me to the ER multiple times, anxiety. Running pulled me out of it. So, yeah, sports can teach you things that nothing else can teach you. That's what running has been for me, and I know that that is what sports is for a lot of people. It's why a lot of people play sports. It's why a lot of people watch sports. So, me being here as an advocate for women's sports in general, but also for women working in sports media, women aspiring to work in sports media. It's something that is really, really close to my heart and is why I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I had this idea back in March last year, 2023, when I was still had a very busy full-time job. And, you know, I really should have started this more in the summer after I lost my job. But I still got busy freelancing, and to be totally honest with you, scared. It's like, what if nobody watches this or listens to this? What if no one cares? It could fall flat. What if I sound stupid? What if I look stupid? And then, you know, I've just been forcing myself to see it a different way because it's not about me. So if I can just get over myself and get started, which is why I'm here doing this today. I know this episode isn't perfect, and I am a perfectionist, and I think that that is why I've had such a hard time getting started, because I'm being super vulnerable with you guys, by the way. I don't know if this is common in podcasts. I do listen to some podcasts. Oh, shout out New Heights, Travis and Jason Kelsey. Hands down my favorite podcast. And now I'm starting to listen to Kylie Kelsey's podcast too. So I'm going to try to get some tips and pointers from her show. I am not as cool as she is, but I can pretend and I can try. There are some awesome women who I want to talk to and share their stories with you. Let them share their stories with you. They're going to be on the show. I'm excited. I'm really excited. So please come back. I'll get better. I promise. Thank you for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.